Hello and welcome to Tapping Tips Tuesday. My name is Katie Walker. I've been doing a series of working with the various fears that can show up when we are wanting to show up, stand up, speak our voice, use the tool that we have to express ourselves, whether that be verbally or in a written form. But however it shows up, that fear, those fears that can really stop us from doing what we want, showing up how we need and desire. And so I've been doing a series of how to work with emotional freedom techniques, aka tapping, to work through some of those events that may be supporting the beliefs and the fears that we have. So today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to work with a fear that does show up in that arena, the fear of failure, which is a biggie. So I'm fearing this, or I'm scared that I'm just going to mess it up and I'm going to fail. And so that can really stop us from, again, doing what we want to be doing and expressing ourselves the way we want to, just in case we mess it up. But rather than using what I have been showing you, which is what we call basic EFT, just for the technical term. So the round of when we're stating what the event is or what the problem is, we talk about the emotion that's showing up as a result of that, where it is in our body, we're rating it 0 to 10. And as we're doing the rounds of tapping, we're working out is what we're doing actually shifting that emotion, shifting the emotion that's showing up as a result of that event, whether it be from the past or in the future, because we still have a psychosomatic response when we are thinking about something from the future. Our brain doesn't know the difference, so we still get that nervous system response, the stress response that can show up even just thinking about it. So rather than using that particular technique, what I'm going to show you are a couple of different variations for when we are in that moment of we're about to do something and we have this fear that we're going to fail, that we're not going to do it right, that something's going to happen and we're going to fail at it. So in those moments, because our body can start to do something before we are even doing it. So our amygdala, which is that control center, that part of our brain that goes into alert, how do I respond to this? That control center that's continually seeking out, is this safe? Is this not safe? The body can go into the response, and in order to calm and to regulate our nervous system so we can then go into the thing that we're going to be doing, that's what we need to be, rather than overtaken by the response in our body. So in those moments, if you're about to go into something, whether it be in a social situation, I could fail at a conversation, I could mess this up, I could look like I'm making a mistake of some sort, whether you're going into a situation where you are having to give a talk, give a presentation, in a team meeting, in a family situation where you might be seen as someone that in the past known as making mistakes. And so there's a pattern there, and going into those situations can be very stressful and nerve-wracking if there is this thought or this belief or this fear of making, being a failure or making a mistake or failing at something. So in those moments, we can do a number of different things. Some of these will require you to actually just take yourself out of the situation if you don't feel comfortable tapping in front of people. I now do, because I do it all the time, and that's what I'm kind of known for, but it's not something that necessarily is natural, and people will be thinking, what is that person doing right now? So the first thing is what we call just tap and breathe, which I have talked about before. So if you're noticing that your body's starting to do something, just take yourself off, whether it be going into another room or going into the bathroom, somewhere where you can be private, and you're just noticing what is actually rising up. Rather than saying anything, you're just going straight into tapping. So you start tapping on the top of the head, and you don't take a deep breath, but you just bring awareness to your breath. So just at the top of your head, take a breath in. And then you come to the start of the eye. And just take a breath that feels right for you, that's comfortable for you. And then we go to the side of the eye. Another breath under the eye. And really, it is noticing the feeling, whether it be in your chest or if it's in your stomach or if it's in your head or your jaw or your back, just noticing what's showing up. And again, under the nose, just taking a breath, not saying anything, but just bringing that awareness to what's going on in the body. And then to the chin. Again, we're just tapping and breathing into the collarbone. Breath in and out, and under the arm. Now you might just keep doing that. Just bringing the awareness to the breath and tap on those points, tapping and breathing. Or if you can't move yourself out of the situation, but you're noticing that you're starting to get scared, nervous, anxious, worried, those feelings that we feel, then the other points that we can use are the side of the fingers. And you can use your thumb going along the side of your nail beds to your index finger, to your middle finger, to your ring finger, if you wear a ring on those ring fingers, to the pinky, and then back to the index finger. Now, you're not necessarily going to stand doing that, but you could if you're out dancing. Could be a cool dance move. But this can be done just with your hands on your lap. You can just be doing that with your hands on your lap or behind your back if you're standing, or just beside yourself. You can just be tapping on those points. Again, just bringing the awareness to what's going on in your body and just tapping on those points. The other one, which is your collarbone that we use, you can just hold your hand there and just be tapping on that point. Now, that's not necessarily unusual for someone to be doing that, or you can just hold that point and just rub it. Or if you can tap, again, just noticing the emotion that's showing up. And the other point that is really useful, which I haven't shown yet, is called the sore spot. Now, to find the sore spot, we use a hand width from our from the end of the palm to the middle finger. So that width out from the collar, along the collarbone. So where the nodules stick out, and you go out, and it's on both sides. And there's sort of like a lymphatic area that's known as the sore spot, and it's actually tended to touch. Sometimes people use this spot rather than the side of their hand as their starting point. So you can actually rub that and say what we normally do, which is, even though I feel anxious just thinking about blah, blah, I still deeply and completely accept myself, but you don't necessarily have to say anything. I used to use this one a lot when I was working in my corporate environment, and I would just I would have a jacket on, or I would just kind of be sitting there. And again, it can be done quite subtly, and I would just be rubbing that sore spot whilst noticing if there was something that was happening in my body, and I just bring awareness to it, and I'd just be rubbing that sore spot. Just, again, noticing what's going on. Sometimes in my head, I would be saying, even though I'm feeling anxious right now, just being here, because I'm not sure what's going to happen. This is in my head. I deeply and completely accept myself, but you don't have to do that. You just be rubbing those sorts of that spot without doing anything. And some of the points that we actually are using through tapping are humans' innate knowing that that's kind of releasing. So, you know, sometimes we feel that tension in our head, we're just kind of rubbing those points, or, you know, our chin, when we're kind of, you know, going, what do I do now? Sorry, my ears keep falling out. Or we do just have our hand on our chest. So, you know, there might be a point on your body that actually feels better to touch, or that you know does actually make you feel relaxed. So use those resources that we already have. But if you're not able to be tapping as we normally would, and what I've shown you, when we are using the various points on our body, the side of the fingers, fingernail beds, the sore spot, collarbone. And the last point I'd love to share with you is what we call the gamut. So we find that between our pinky and our ring finger, and we go down about an inch, And again, there's that indent. And you can just be holding that on your lap and rubbing that, or even tapping that. Again, as you're noticing anything that's rising in those moments. So what we're doing by using the various techniques I've just shown you is we're helping the body and the amygdala, that's that little control center, the bouncer of our brain, to go, it's okay. We don't have to be going into that fight, flight, or freeze response. We are actually okay. Our life is not being put into a threatening situation, but we just want to calm, because then that's going to allow for that part of our brain that we need to be online, to be thinking and acting and doing what we want. It's going to allow it to be there, rather than when we do go into that stress response, that part of the brain, the blood flows to the other parts where the body, where it's needed, if we are going into that fight or flight response. So as we're calming the body, that part of our brain can stay online and do what we need it to do. So there's just another couple of techniques that you can use in those stressful situations where you're already thinking that something's going to happen. I am going to fail, or you're noticing something that's changing in your body and you want to be able to be in a calm state. So historically, where you may have made a mistake, or there might have been some form of, well, your interpretation of a failure. And so when you're in that same situation, your body's already going into, okay, something's going to happen, but we just want to be able to calm your body down. So you can show up differently, and the outcome can be very different, because if we are in a stress response, we're kind of operating at that energetic state, and then we're not doing and being and showing up as we want to. So again, if you want to know more, please go to www.katiewalkereft.com, or you can contact me at hello@katiewalkereft.com. I hope this has been useful. Just a couple of additional techniques that you can use if you're not in a position to do what I've been showing you. Just know that you can take yourself off and do the tap and breathe, or actually using the setup statement that I've shown you before, and I'll continue to show you. But if you're not able to remove yourself from the situation, size of fingers, sore spot, collarbone, gamut can all be used. So thank you for joining me.